Ah.
All right. So we should be live now.
Give me a second. I'm just checking my test recording. Make sure that's all good.
All right. Welcome to the test run for the Sixus1 Magazine live. I have to kill that audio out here. So this is the maiden voyage. This little test run here. I do believe we're going to do a podcast version of this that will be edited down, but the live stream is just the live uncensored version of this.
So 1 second, can you hold for silence for my test for 1 second? So I think you're a little bit peeking out. Just hold for silence for like 20 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, I have corrected for that. I'm going to do one more quick test. Go ahead and give me your talk, Les, if you would.
Okay, check, 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 check.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to check that now. Just give me silence for a few seconds.
All right.
That's close, so I'm going to just pull you down just a little bit more.
All right.
One more time. One more time. Give me a check, check.
Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
All right, hold for check. I feel like we have this little... Okay, that's good. I'm good to go on the primary recording machine. We can start anytime you are ready.
All right.
And I'm going to record the actual... let me see how we want to do this. Oh, Reggie. There's Reggie. Hi, Reg. Oh. How's the new pad?
All right.
He finally got in place.
Nice, nice. All right, okay, so we ready to start this thing officially?
Starting recording on the stream and starting recording on the primary audio. We can begin anytime now.
All right. So, maiden voyage, Sixus1 Magazine podcast number 1 for October 2019. Beginning in 3, 2, 1. Hey folks, so here we are, we're starting. If you were here in the past couple minutes, you would have heard us kind of getting this first stream off the ground, so I'm just going to welcome you right now. This is Sixus1 Magazine, what we plan to make into an ongoing podcast, talking about the different things that I am into at Sixus1 and things that we're producing, making, things we like, things we're interested in. It's going to be kind of all over the place because, frankly, that's how I am. I'm kind of all over the place into tons of different stuff that's art-related, art, comics, 3D, animation, effects, film, you name it. So anyone who knows me and has kind of followed my work for the last, for however long, knows that, it's like I tend to be in lots of places at once. And that's kind of what this is all about. It's what the magazine's about, the podcast, and this live stream is about. So to kick things off regarding that magazine, let me talk about that for just a second. So what I mean by magazine is Sixus1 Magazine is the name of the ongoing newsletter that we're about to launch. It's going to be a monthly deal that has articles in it, short articles covering everything from artists we like, new 3D content that I'm dropping through Daz, through Renderosity, and soon to be through ArtStation. It'll cover comics that I have coming out, comics that I'm interested in. We may do the occasional movie review, animation stuff. Like I said, it's gonna be wide and varied into the variety of things that I and my partner in crime here, Mr. Brent Bowers, are into. So, with that said, I also want to kind of kick this off with a nod to Mr. Bowers. For those who don't know, Brent, he goes by a couple of different names in the 3D art community. Notably Disciple 3D. You'll see a lot of products now at Renderosity that are branded as S1M-D3D or some variation of Sixus1 and Disciple 3D. Brent and I have been friends and occasional business partners just we've had a variety of different kinds of working relationships since what, dude? Probably about 2004, 2003, 2004.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
it's been a long time.
probably about a year after you did those that first run of poster figures, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So, that'd be since about 2002, and it's so funny as we were starting the run up to this, and we are kind of going through some things on YouTube. Um, Brent was kind of poking through the Sixus1 YouTube channel, and there's a clip that I have up there that's actually from the first project that we did together forever ago. I mean, forever ago, and it was a little indie zombie film that he was producing and directing, and
The Zombie Hunter.
and we were attempting to do this. Do some CG zombie replacements, and this is going back to 2002, 2003, somewhere around in that area, and just with what we had to work with and the budget and everything, it was I'm going to call it quaintly awful.
Hey, by the way, Les, I was just looking. If you go to Facebook and you search for The Zombie Hunter, you'll find the fan page with a bunch of pictures from that production.
Oh wow, that's great. That's great.
You might even see some Sixus1 very early zombies with the Project Human figure you did.
Oh Lord, yeah, I was actually pre-Project Human. That was going all the way back to like an early version of oh Lord, that was something that I made custom for the project. That was pre-Project Human.
Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to paste a link to that fan page into the chat. By the way,
Cool.
this being a podcast, if you show up for the live broadcast, we cut the podcast from this, and you get to see images in some cases and desktop workings and stuff that we're actually doing right now, as opposed to waiting and hearing about it later and following a bunch of links in the description.
Yeah, that's super cool. So yeah, anyway, I was kind of throwing out a little introduction of Brent there, because we've been in these variety of working relationships for, good grief, so long now, 16 years, man, 16, 17, 16, almost 17 years.
Yeah, I know. Last month, or was it 2 months ago, I tried to we first met in person. I tried to give you a handshake, and you hugged my neck. I was like, "Whoa, bro, back up!"
Oh, yeah. At that
you don't
point,
know me like that.
At that point, we've definitely moved on to bro hug status, man. It's all good.
That's right. Next thing you know, I'm giving you a massage on the floor of your kitchen.
Yeah. For those who don't know, that actually happened. Because Brent is... Are you actually licensed yet, or are you about to be licensed?
I've completed school. I'm about to be licensed.
Okay, so Brent is an inch away from being a licensed masseuse. So
actually, we don't call it masseuse. It's massage therapist. Masseuse carries a negative connotation.
But I like saying masseuse because it sounds funny.
Hey, on that note, last night I stopped at Chick-fil-A. We always like to infuse a little bit of a comedy here, but like last night on the way home from one of our final nights of school, we're just kind of getting all our paperwork in order for the licensure now, and it's probably about like 9:45, and this kid's thinking surely 10 o'clock's coming and Chick-fil-A closes. We place about an $18 order, and they always ask for your name with the order. I said Brent. I roll around there. The guy goes, France? And I was like, France? Have you ever heard anybody called France? Maybe you have. I don't know.
I don't know, man. That's a weird one.
So all day Nancy's been calling me France, saying France this, France that. It's hilarious.
Nice.
Good stuff. But yeah, man, I'm Grey Bro from back in the day, and a few years ago switched over to the D3D brand to separate, the quality as well from the old stuff that I did largely in Photoshop to the things where I'm using yourself to kind of project manage things that are outside of my skill set that I really want to get made and created. And for me, it's all about like, something that I want to use almost always, that's not available, or at least in the quality that I want it. Like I feel like the pursuit for the greatest CG werewolf, for the layperson, it's still an ongoing thing. I basically just want the creature from...
It is not an ongoing thing.
And you did.
I peaked that mountain, I will have you know.
Where I was going was, I always say that to me there's only two great examples of a werewolf in cinema I feel like the greatest werewolf film is Werewolf in London, but technically he's not a werewolf; he's a wolf beast. There, it is
Oh,
difference.
no,
You got to be a
no, it's
wolf man,
American
right?
Werewolf in London.
So
American Werewolf
that
in London.
that kind of like I still like it's still the superior film, but The Howling has actual werewolves where they're still, you know, bipedal, right? Um,
American Werewolf in London, The Howling Part 2 for me, and I just watched it the other day, Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is definitely that's probably in my top 5 favorite movies ever. I love that
The,
film.
the maybe a close fourth for me, and entirely for sentimental reasons, would be Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
That's a very good film.
And entirely, and this loops back around off of that into other things that the podcast, the magazine are related to. My reasoning for that is that the movie based on the book was done. The movie's based on the book, and the book was done, if I'm not mistaken, because Stephen King was a fan of one of my all-time favorite comic book artists, Bernie Wrightson, and he expressly did that book because it's a very, very short book, and it was done in a specific format, so that he could have Bernie Wrightson come in and do artwork for it because he loved his artwork. And so that movie is very reflective of Bernie Wrightson's artwork. So all these things kind of tie in together. And it's kind of funny that we would start off the magazine and the podcast and land on the subject of werewolves for a minute, because the very first figure that I ever put out for Poser for the 3D content market all the way back in like 2001 was a werewolf. And anybody who knows me for more than an hour knows what a stupid degree of a fanatic I am for anything werewolf related. So it's kind of I don't know. Seems almost poetic that we would land back on werewolves or something, kicking something off, because that's where I started.
People see that it's going to be the Wild Wild West, and hear a little bit on the podcast. We will still cover specific things,
Yeah,
but obviously you and I are like fanboys, but like fanboys with a purpose that take action and try to do things. Like I try to
yeah.
make films. You make creatures that fill a niche that that you love, and you've got some of the most original poser creatures out there, of course.
Nowadays for Daz Studio, because I really don't like developing for Poser anymore. I mean, I will I primarily, the only time I touch Poser these days is when someone pays me to.
If you'll recall, a number of years ago, I said, "Les, man, you got to start developing for Genesis." And at the time, you were very resistant to that,
and I was,
if you're changed,
and I will
upside down.
I will continue to back up my stance on that, because at the time we were talking like Genesis 1, and it had promise, but I think it was really weak. Genesis 2 was okay. And really all the way up into the early days of Genesis 3 from Daz, as figures go, they were getting better. They had a lot of potential, but the problem was that the actual software itself, Daz Studio, was still very it was lacking in a number of important areas. And then somewhere along the way during the lifespan of Genesis 3, they just, I don't know if they got a resource boost, or somebody just got a fire lit under them or something, but the actual program inside that little window of time, it's like it just took this giant leap forward. And they started incorporating new technologies and stuff into it, or things that were new to the market. But were kind of standards for folks, like me, who kind of operate in the broader world of 3D as well. They started incorporating this stuff in, and it was like, oh my God. And it was like they had been trailing, in my mind, technically speaking, as a tool, they'd been trailing behind Poser for quite a while. And then it was like somebody just flipped a switch and hit the gas, and boom, they left it in the dirt. And at that point, I have to admit, I was kind of ignoring it because I just hadn't been that impressed. And then I had a client who had a very large content project that they wanted done for Daz Studio. They specifically wanted me to do it, my studio to do it, which at the time was me and my son. And they wanted us to do it, and they put enough money on the table that was like, I can't turn that down. Okay, we're going to step into it. And I told them, I was like, not familiar not familiar enough with production for that yet. I need to take some time, look at the learning curve, but we'll do it if you want us to do it. And they did, and that was one of the best things that has happened to me in a long time, because once I got into that project and sorted out the software, sorted out a production workflow for it, it became very obvious to me how much of high-end 3D they had borrowed. There's so many things inside that studio that were very analogous to what I know coming out of Maya, because my primary program for productions, for like animation and rendering and all that kind of stuff, is Maya. And it was like I went home. It was like, oh my God, this is great. And then they've continued to expand on it since then, and I just adopted it more and more because it was so much more natural to me at that point than Poser. And Poser had been my game for a long time, and now I honestly can't stand going back into it. So. But
Yeah,
I know that's probably going to chafe some folks who might listen to this, especially some of the recent news and changes, which maybe that'll be a topic we cover in a future installment. Some of the news of the 3D industry or news of the content industry, I guess. But
yeah, I'm not closing the door on it entirely, but it would have to take more drastic deviation and development than I think is planned at present. But we'll see. Anything can happen.
For fear of legal repercussions, I won't go too in depth. Just to say, it's like I've been a fly on the wall in a number of interesting places regarding that program, and my personal take is there's a lot that could be done, but I don't expect to see it done. So
I loved it for so long, and
it was good to me. That Poser was good to me. I mean, my brand, my logo and brand was on the side of the box for, good Lord, most of the time that the program has existed.
As was my earlier brand, Devil Dog Studios. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like,
I think Graybro's credited on there, and I've been asked about contributing some of my old Poser content, in particular the Chaos Warriors, but I agreed to it, but I never heard back. So who knows, that may show up. And also, as many of you will know, I project managed a team that created the original Creech, which has been in Poser for many years now, and even used in some of the tutorials that the makers at the time, Smith Micro, had for it. So
yeah, although there's been. I know. I remember years ago seeing that sitting in there next to an early iteration of My Gray Alien. There was like Alpha Man, Beta Boy, and Gamma Girl are figures of mine that have been in Poser forever. And then there was like the core Poser content, like the James and Jesse figures for a long time, and then they were doing they called them G this and G that or whatever, and.
Speaking of Zombie Hunter, I actually used the Simon figure from Poser for my first attempt at a Zombie Hunter comic, and those images. There's a cover somewhere that's around still today out there in the ether.
Man.
Hey, before we leave the subject of werewolves, because I know we're about to, I do want to plug, if you guys are into old horror movies and you've seen the Waxwork anthologies, there's a Waxwork 1 and a Waxwork 2. I believe it's Waxwork 1 has a werewolf story with a fantastic looking werewolf, sort of like the John York style from the TV show Werewolf.
Ooh, God, I remember that show. That's been a while. That was a great show.
You know what's crazy? In my mind, I remember that as being a fantastic werewolf, right? But now I look back and I realize that the mouths did not articulate at all. They always had that open. Actually, on that note, well, I'm not going to do that. I just got into a good-looking werewolf figure that is really good, but for some reason the eyelids do not close at all, and I thought, ooh, great figure, looks amazing, but you still need eyelids, right, to express.
I'm not going to get into that because I haven't looked at what you're talking about, I'm going to have a hard rule when it comes to 3D content. I'm going to have a hard rule that I'm not going to talk about anybody else's content I probably won't talk about anybody else's content much to begin with, just because I don't really use anybody else's stuff, and I'm
Because you
deaf.
make your own. Are we allowed to curse on this?
I don't care if you do. I
You
mean,
make your own shit.
yeah, I mean, no shit.
We were
So
just joking. For
the
years, that was your go-to one line. Anytime I would compliment anybody else's, hadn't seen that, I make my own shit.
yeah, it's I've been saying it for years. Like I make my own shit, but so
I, for the record, make my own shit as well. It's just
yeah.
perhaps we mean it differently.
Oh, that's awful. So
Yeah, check that out. The waxwork for sure.
yeah. So looking, of course, I've kept the magazine cover up through this whole kind of beleaguered intro. So I want to kind of start hitting some of the points that we got on there. There's a new kit that I'll show it on here. I'm just going to talk about the kit itself, and then eventually I'll make an announcement about where you'll be able to get it, because that's not 100% set in stone. It's about 95% set in stone. It's going to be completely set in stone inside of the next few days, but we'll see. So I don't want to go any further than that. But there's this cool new kit that...
If only you had an awesome animation to play on the screen. Wow, that would be cool.
Ooh, yeah. Do I have that somewhere handy? That's the question. I think I do. I'm just gonna. You're gonna see me navigating, because I just, I'm
actually.
kind of
by the way, there.
If
you are using the graphic like I suggested that you did, the graphic source, you can also do a source for the media file, so you don't have to show yourself navigating. That's just for future reference.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we're gonna work out some bugs and stuff on this. We are using OBS, and I've used OBS before when I was doing lots of seminars and stuff for CGBytes, an old client of mine, and so that was, it's kind of cool. There's a number of things there that I just haven't quite nailed down yet for myself.
Still the best and still free.
Yeah.
Online streaming software.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up this little QuickTime here and play this on the screen, so that it'll go out with the stream, and I'm really dig this. This is a test animation. Let's set this to loop, of this new outfit, this Western themed outfit that there's actually a character kit that goes with it too, that not entirely sure which avenue that's going to get released at yet, but it will come out somewhere. The character is called Dusty, and then this is a big clothing outfit. And the clothing outfit has went through some changes since it originated. Yeah, originally this was something that Brent and I tossed around some ideas, and we have this massive library of videos.
Just so you guys know, this ties into the topic number 1 on the right-hand side of the magazine, S1M D3D Teachables, and S1M mentoring in general.
Yeah, so we have this whole big series of video tutorials called Teachables. It falls under S1M D3D Teachables or Sixus1 Mentoring. If you're on Facebook, pop onto, just pop Sixus1 Mentoring into Facebook, and that's a Facebook page that's dedicated to basically me mentoring other artists. Mostly 3D, because I have so much experience professionally in 3D, and have just found that there's a lot of people who want to kind of pick my brain on 3D stuff, but also in comics and traditional art, painting, things like that as well, because I also do all that stuff professionally. So, but Dusty is a kit that grew out of we came up with the concept of doing this Old West themed outfit that would that as it was being created, we would document the whole thing and treat it as a giant case study in start to finish product development for Daz Studio. And now granted, that started all the way back. Like, Dusty has actually been a thing that I've been working on off and on for probably the better part of 1.5 2 years.
Easily a 1.5 because
actually I think 2 years is a good safe bet, and because folks who know me personally will know, the last year of my life has seen a lot of upheavals and things that caused me to have to kind of start and stop and reset some things. Yeah, a lot of things had to get reset. It's been some difficulties, but we've come through that. So Dusty really got put on the shelf for most of the last year. It's not like I worked on this thing for a solid 2 years. I really probably only have about a month's work in it full total with all the other stuff plus revisions and things. What you see on screen right now, by the way, is the final revision. This is what I've decided is going to be in the final kit, which is a little different than what's in the tutorials and all that. But I can't, good Lord, man, how many hours worth of tutorials are there focused on this thing? It's exhaustive.
It's probably, oh man, it's probably over 10 for sure.
It's a lot. There's a lot of content in that, and a lot of insights into a whole pile of aspects of building content for Daz Studio. Even though it was originally done for Genesis 3, all that stuff still is quite valid, still very applicable. So anyway, though, I was recently, recently going through, my backlog of stuff and projects that needed to be wrapped up and gotten out the door in some way. And Dusty is one that I was like, okay, it's time to finish this thing. Pardon me. It's allergy season here, and it hits me really hard. So it was like it's time to finish this thing. So I've been working on wrapping it up, and this test animation was part of that. Was very happy with the way that came out with that cloth, that whole the poncho draping around her, and the way that moves and everything. And it was nice because I really don't do as much animation these days as I would like, so it was a nice moment to sort of dip my toe back into doing some animation, which I really enjoy. Animation's a lot of fun. So anyway, I also have that queued up. Actually, no, I don't. Okay, now I remember where I was at with this. Pardon me, I got to backtrack a little bit. So that's Dusty, which you can see here on the magazine cover up here in the corner. Yeah. So and of course the centerpiece to the magazine here is this new piece that I did for Brent's D3D label, and it's this thing called Demon Israfel. I'm actually about to knock out the male counterpart to this really soon, and that'll be there in time for you to have both for your Halloween rendering fun. And to show this off a little bit, I was going to pop into Daz Studio and load this up. Now you notice the thumbnail for this here in my library is kind of junky. This is on the dev end. I finished the stuff up and hand it off to Brent, and then Brent does like a lot of the pretty thumbnails and stuff that go inside and kind of finishes out the packing and all that. So I'm going to load this up, and you will see what we got going on here. And then just for fun, I'm going to load in the Dusty outfit over the Demon.
Oh, you should apply her to the animation.
Oh, you could. It'd be kind of neat.
That'd be cute.
So she's going to come in all nudely there. So just forgive that, folks.
You're a madman if you don't render that animation in that old western town, because that just looks so dope.
Yeah. So yeah, right now this is just looking at this in the viewport. There's some neat bells and whistles that I put into this. This is loading the actual character preset here, but actually maybe that's the way I'll do this. I'll load that animation file back up and then apply it on top of that so you can see it that way, because that's kind of a cool way to illustrate that. I hadn't even thought about that. So yeah, like here's
50%.
This is the 100% just full on demonic character load in, and I'm going to kick this over to iRay in the viewport, and then maybe let's see. I'm going to go into my presets and maybe pull up just an HDRI to throw in the background. Yeah, let's throw this one in here, this preset. I have a ton of my own rendering presets that I use for tests and promo art and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've collaborated on a bunch of those that aren't released, actually.
Yeah, there's a good little library of those.
That's a real problem for us. Sometimes we get into that production mode, and everything's supposed to be released in a timely format, and I get on other things, you get on other things. Like I'm on a commercial shoot for next week, and life happens, and we end up with like this tremendous backlog. I feel like we've pretty much for the last 8 months have had this huge backlog of stuff trying to get it out.
Yeah, that happens. I'd rather have that problem than not have anything waiting to get out the door. It's better to have things sitting there that you can go, oh yeah, let's polish that up and put it out, than it is to have nothing, nothing at all. So I'm gonna spin this dome around and get kind of some dramatic light going on this for a second. So
I tell you what, there's so much I love about this character, but one thing I really love is that the eyes, if you look closely, they're not just blacked out. They're like shark eyes with the oversized,
yeah,
is it irises, I guess?
it's an oversized pupil.
I
Yeah.
thought the pupil was the thing in the center.
Well, they're kind
So
of blacked out from the iris into the pupil, so it gives it this super open kind of weird look.
very
That I
creep,
really like.
very alien gray somehow, but cool.
Yeah, and then there's pardon me. Yeah, if you look at all the presets and stuff that load in with this, like I go to actor. Actually, a good way to find this is just go to currently used. You'll see, we've got all these deals right here, and so there's this nifty little thing in here that is just the mouth. You can actually dial up all these different elements. Like if we take Demon Israfel right here, that's kind of the global control for all of them. There you'll see it brings our shape back down to the original figure shape. And then from there we could do just the head. It's going to bring in the mouth elements and shape the head and everything. Or we can do just the mouth. Like if you wanted to use just the teeth, which I'm about to show because they're like one of my favorite things in this whole kit. There's a neat little thing that it adds, and you can see it here in the scene listing. There's a thing that says Israfel extra teeth. So if we go into, I like to do this through, through the pose controls on the head, and then go to mouth. So if we go to mouth open, and we're going to open this up, and then we're going to go down to the lips, and we're going to use lips closed and bare teeth and dial that back, and you'll see that this adds this. There's a secondary set of like very shark-like sort of teeth in there. And I really dig the way that came out. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Shark woman.
So, yeah, that was some fun stuff to do. Let me go load up that Dusty animation test, and let's go here. Let's do a new just so it kicks that out. I think I have that saved here. Let's go into Dusty. What was this one? Might take it a second to load. There's a lot of content there that it pulls in. While that's loading, I'm going to peek over at the live stream over on a different computer, and it's nice to see a couple of folks popping into the chat on there. That's kind of cool. That's something I used to do good Lord, I think I did them for like 2 years, almost 2 years, a weekly seminar, online seminar for CGBytes, one of the outlets online where you can buy tons and tons of 3D content. And I was doing a series, an ongoing series for them that I think most of it is still viewable on their YouTube channel. That was a learning program that I developed for them to help kind of enrich their vendors, and that was such a great experience, man. I learned, I taught a lot and I learned a lot. I actually learned a lot because of how I had to figure out how to do the streaming and ways to interact with people and work with folks in the course of doing that. And then, distilling down stuff that I knew how to do and breaking it down that way. It was a really interesting experience. So But one of the things that I always liked about it was the way that there were people who could, people would come on and they could interact with me that way. They could ask questions, and it really became this really neat sort of interaction. Kind of took me back to days when I used to run these airbrush shops for some folks, and like I always enjoyed the thing about I'd be there doing artwork, and there'd be people come in and they'd see the artwork happening and want to talk and hang out, and maybe they were artists and have questions, and so it was kind of like a digital world version of that sort of experience I used to have, and I enjoyed that a lot. So it's nice to see folks in the chat on the YouTube stream. So that's kind of cool. So anyway,
those videos were kind of a precursor to the S1M stuff too.
Yeah.
Ultimately, really kind of contributing to the idea that started all that. Which, by the way, you guys can always check out at renderosity.com. They're available there, and complete courses that if you want to talk about going into the minutia of creating products within DAZ Studio, now those do.
Yeah. If you were to actually go grab all of the tutorial content that we've released at Renderosity, there's literally enough there to take you from knowing absolutely nothing to being able to at least make a supplemental income for yourself in the content world.
There's tutorial series 1 and 2. If you got both of those, it would probably take you 4 to 6 months to really work through that in your spare time and become completely self-sufficient at creating certain kinds of things.
Yeah, but it is, it's like the stuff is there, and that was kind of the goal. That was part of the goal of what I was doing with CGBytes, was to try and craft a course, a kind of courseware or an ongoing broadcast that if you came in from the beginning, and you could always go back and rewatch, if you started from the beginning and you watched all the way through, you would be able to start a career, or at least a little side hustle doing 3D content for the 3D content markets. So, and I know that it quantifiably paid off, because I know multiple artists out there who started or who either started completely or were taken, maybe they were kind of dipping their toe in, and then it really helped them. I know people there have been multiple people come to me after the experience with CGBytes and then with Sixus1 mentoring series and all that stuff, who have said, hey, I make most or all of my living now from stuff that you taught me to do. And that's super cool, man. That's kind of outside the realm of business and thinking the way that I have to think about that stuff a lot, and just on a personal level, something that I'm always going to be very, very proud that I could teach people something that kind of did that for them. So that's super cool. It's not even to brag. It's more like, wow, check that out, folks. There's this thing you can do that's super cool and fun and yields stuff for you, and it's creative, and yeah, it's just awesome. So it's
have fun, make money. Have fun, make money.
Yeah,
that goes together well.
Have fun, make money. I mean, it's not all fun. There's definitely some downsides to it, but it's it's better than digging ditches. Unless you like digging ditches. If you do, that
actually dovetails nicely into some other topics that we have for the newsletter. Of course, the new platforms that Sixus1 is going to be on.
Yes.
Sharing some of this learning material, and perhaps in ways you haven't been able to get it before, namely full HD and non-streaming formats.
Yeah.
Patreon, Art Store,
ArtStation.
We could just call it Art Store.
ArtStation.
A store at ArtStation.
Yeah, it's LL Garner on ArtStation, and we'll be posting links and all that kind of stuff. This is all, there's a lot of pieces to an overall Sixus1 puzzle here that are almost together, just not quite. And we're sort of, in a way, this first stream is for me a way of saying, okay, rubber's hitting the road, we're pulling triggers on things, do this now. So, it's like you're going to see, if you followed me for a while, like on Facebook or whatever, you've seen that I've launched the new ArtStation based website some months ago, and it's got a fair amount of my own portfolio and things like that up on it. There's going to be commercial products offered there. There's also, granted, it's a very dormant, but there's a shell of a Patreon sitting there that will be a place for folks to come and just contribute. Like if you like what we do with the podcast and you want to throw a buck or two our way from time to time, throw me something there that's just like, hey, that's cool, thanks, then that's cool. It's like Patreon tip jar kind of deal. So one of the things that's been kind of a focus for me going into the last half of this year is to really expand the number of places that folks can find. I'm in the habit still of saying Sixus1. I actually want to migrate away from using Sixus1 on everything and just say Les Garner Art content, because that's really what it is. Sixus1 is really more the 3D side of things. But my whole personal goal has been to migrate into better avenues for the variety of things that I do, and get people interacting and sharing and come along for the ride in those places. So, but I'm going to put a pin in that for the moment since this file loaded up, and here we can see where the animation for that whole Dusty deal that you saw a second ago took place. Of course, this is going to play back. I'm not playing this back real time at all, and it's just going to be kind of janky for a moment as it chugs along. There's like a smoothing modifier that has to kick in for little things here and there, and all that kind of fun stuff. So, but I'm going to pick a frame here and let's delete that light out of there, and then I'm going to go into a perspective view and just zoom in on her face, and we'll just use this frame as a test bed to kind of show off. Here you're seeing kind of a little preview of the Dusty. It's the full title of the kit is Dusty HD Authentic Cowgirl for Genesis A Female. That's what the full title of the product will be. So as soon as I have confirmation of a couple things, then I'll probably do like a special little stream announcement video or something like that just introduces the kit and where it's going to be found and all that sort of thing. So I really feel like really wanting to expand what we do with YouTube and showing things that way and interacting with everyone through there. So let's give this a moment for iRay to load up and do its goofy little thing. There we go. So there you can see Dusty against this nice Western looking backdrop, and we have her head selected. So I'm going to go over into my library for Israfel, and in that kit, you'll see it's listed under Disciple 3D, excuse me, and that's because this is one that's a Brento branded kit, and inside there you're going to see there's all these different presets under Demon Israfel, like Demon Israfel add arms 10%, 50%, 100%. What that is like every aspect of this character, as you saw, like the full character, every aspect of it can be loaded in part on top of an existing Genesis 8 figure. So here we've got this Dusty character of mine, and I'm going to load in just the Demon Israfel add head 100%. So we're going to apply that and give it just a moment. So there you see the shape changed, and it's stacking the results of that sculpt on top of the sculpt that's used for the Dusty character. Okay, while that's loading up, I'm just glancing over the chat and I see Cajun Beauty says I'm on ArtStation too. That's cool. We should swap links and follow each other on there. So give this just a moment. Like I said, this is hopefully before too long I'll be having some hardware upgrades that'll make things like this go much faster. We shall see. So there you can see just that demon face loaded in on top of hers with the eyes changing and all that cool stuff. And then from there, if we load in, let's see, I don't remember, does it load? Yeah, it does load in the extra teeth. That's so great. I love that. So now let's open the mouth up in here. And then we'll go to the lips. And let's do that coming back. And then just let that catch up for a second. That's really cool. The Dusty kit is actually an outgrowth of something unrelated to 3D content that I hope to get off the ground at some point. It's just kind of there's a whole character concept and story that I want to do in comics that relates to it. So there you can see how the Demon Israfel kit will just stack right on top of any existing Genesis 8 female kit. And there are other presets over here too that add things like glowing veins and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's I really dig that. Like, it's so funny because I mean, it's like I make this stuff, but then sometimes I play with it and it's like I make it going, well, I'm going to make this so that it can stack on top of anything else. And then I start stacking it and I get surprised. You know, it's like, oh, well, that's super cool. It's like, it ends up like, it's like I'm making these toys and then I get to play with them, putting them together and see what they can do. And that it's always kind of startling when it comes out super cool like that. It's like it's supposed to, but then it does, and it's like, oh wow, that's great. So there you go. That's a quick look at both Dusty and the new Demon Israfel kit, which Demon Israfel is out at Renderosity, so you guys can support Mr. Brent and his D3D brand over at Renderosity by picking that up. And
hey, save that so we can render that animation later.
Yeah, I can apply that and we can re-render that later and totally. Actually, I could re-render that and then we could comp it together so that as the animation plays, her face changes into this.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, we'll have to do that, and then I'll repost it, and it'll just be like, hey guys, here's a little thing from what you saw the other day. So that'll be pretty slick. So yeah, there's so many things too that I want to cover in these streams and podcasts and magazine and all that kind of stuff too. Like talking about animation and like you guys saw earlier in this quick little animation for this is something that was done inside the studio. You guys can animate inside there, and I don't think people even think about it, but it's I enjoy that. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool to see what you can do with that. So
I am really into stop motion animation right now, and this kind of bridges the gap between that and live action. We should definitely do a S1N on that at some point.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the introduction to Demon Israfel and to Dusty. So let's come back out here. I'm just using the magazine cover as kind of a little thing to look at stuff. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about for a moment? Let's move on for just a moment. Yeah, there's a little thing that we put on here called Promo Heroes, because there's a couple of artists, a handful of artists who sometimes help us out with promotional artwork. And you can see their names on here, the names that they go by. There's Vicky Leversedge. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. Vicky, if I'm incorrect, you can call me. Leversedge.
AKA, I think her brand is also called Hedge Witchery.
Something like that, yeah. So Vicky, we've known for years, and she's amazing. Crender or C-Render, however that's supposed to be said. And anyone, if I screw up and mispronounce something or say something some way other than what you want, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll correct it at a later time. But so let's say Crender there. Man, they've been.
I believe that's C-Render.
C-Render has been knocking it out of the park lately. I don't know how long we've known them, but it seems to me like they're pretty recent. But the stuff that they do is just off the hook. And then Paper Tiger. Brent, who is that?
That is another artist with C-Render and the X3D, Extreme 3D. Is that what their group is called?
I think so.
Paper Tiger also does a lot of really awesome HDRI kits, which you can buy at various marketplaces.
Oh, nice. So I think I have. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So this is a render from, let's see,
The
Baus.
great the great Bowski.
Okay, yeah, Bowski. A lot of folks in the content world might be familiar with Bowski from his variety of just crazy detailed renders. They're just gorgeous. So this is
Check out Bowski.com. He does an amazing 3D comic on there, typically themed on I guess you could say alt universe Lara Croft.
yeah, he does a lot of things that are kind of homage to different stuff that he's really into, and the stuff is just gorgeous. Like his renders just consistently are beautiful. So this
So
is
Demon Israfel is based in part on a piece of IP that I had from a film years ago called Respawner, which if you really want to see, we'll put the link in the information below. But so we made a live action film with the demon very much like Demon Israfel. So the part of the design kind of harkens from that. And so I asked some of my promo artists to go look at the film and recreate scenes from the film, and boy, did they ever.
oh yeah, yeah. I actually think if I go poking around for a second, I could probably find some of the reference images that I had from photos from the film.
From the makeup test, right?
Yeah, from there were makeup tests, because it's funny too, because this actually relates really well to some videos that we have over at Daz that are all about creating digital stand-ins for practical effects in independent films. So yeah, there's the folder for that stuff, the Blind Eye Project. Let's see, Fell Dev, I think. Yeah, here
Oh
we
yeah,
go. So yeah, this was.
these are fun.
Here, let me just dock this over here, and
I guess I should go dig that link up for folks in the chat for
yeah,
the film.
yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to dock these two preview windows here. So here's Bowski's render using the new Demon Israfel kit. Now this was concept artist work from the film some time ago, and then these
Way
were
back.
yeah, these were just some little you know photo tests of the practical makeup as it was done back then. So you could see like where it started on the film project. And then where it's landed now after my creation of a CG version of this for Daz Studio.
Yeah, it's really amazing seeing the life of that character for me. You can imagine. There's actually did I ever share with you the original comic book cover? I don't know if I may have shared that with you. I definitely have it. Whether you have it or not in your little dev folder there, I don't know.
I don't think I have it in my folder here, but yeah, I really dig like this. And what's funny too is like the photos from the tests on this. I actually used some of those photos. There's some that are really high res and very close up, and I used those to create some tools that came into play in creating the digital version of it.
Well, look at the hands. I mean, the idea has clearly made it through, and I love the dentures, the original dentures. That fellow getting slashed right there is the dude that designed those dentures, and they really sell demon to me.
Oh,
there's me, by the way.
Yeah, there's Mr. Brent.
I didn't know you pulled all these, man.
Oh yeah, man! I grabbed all of them. I grabbed all of those. So in all their gory glory.
Yeah, this is our friend Sylvia Burris, by the way. That's the actress. She did a cool job. That was, I think, her first really big role. Now she is a blonde, and we actually here just colored her hair with spray, but in the final thing we used a wig, and that's the first time she's ever had a live cast. She was extremely conscientious about the bodysuit. I thought she looked great in it.
I always love the photos because it's like photos like this are actually, there's no way they can not be kind of goofy.
Yeah, of course.
Just test the stuff out, but it's always fun, So like I really like comparing between these two. You can see the outfit that Bowski chose for that image, and yeah, it's like there's something kind of magical for me about having by being able to see, this was a real person with a real shoot and all this kind of stuff, and now we've
Yeah,
taken it to this level. It's like, this is where it is now. Like, honestly, it would really be super cool to see. I don't know how many viewers we'll get on this, but if enough folks liked it and wanted to get behind it, like I'd love to go back and redo some of that kind of stuff, and maybe.
we could totally recreate scenes from this with using a digital actor as the respawner.
Yeah.
That'd be so much fun. Well, the one thing was the budgetary constraints. I made the original respawner in a warehouse. Actually, the actress's family had a warehouse where she ran like a haunted mill kind of situation, and it was an old mill. And we were out there in the middle of the country in North Carolina summer, and it was about 110 degrees in there. And that was my first directorial experience, and it was brutal, but we could completely black it out and control the light, so that made it amazing. The vision for it was always to have some sort of suit covered with runes. I don't want to go too far into what the respawner is, but basically suffice it to say it's a demon that takes over the body of the host, and it basically is limited only by imagination and its veracity to kill people that harm the host, right? Yeah, the whole thing is just amazing, and there's some scenes in this for a short film for $800 that you would be hard pressed to believe that I actually pulled off, but I did hire like a real Hollywood guy. Matter of fact, it's the guy that was on Face Off.
Oh wow!
Gregory Hewitt made a particular prop that gets a big. I don't want to give it away because you need to go. I just pasted 2 links to the original test film, but the first link is actually to the film itself, and we'll share it in the podcast details and in the information below the stream. But if you go watch that, it is amazing, and there's a moment that you want to make sure if you're a person that gore, like sickens you might not want to have a meal right before that, but yeah, don't want to give it away, but
cool.
There's actually, I think you have another render that's from Vicky.
Yeah,
that is
yeah. I was about to
scene.
get to these other renders. So here's another shot. This was from Vicky. This was the one we used for the magazine cover, and
that is almost exactly like a frame in the movie. That blew my mind, actually.
Yeah, I've watched the movie before, and some of that image is like, wow, that's.
I want to point out the amazing blood pouring out of the ripped aorta there at the bottom.
Yeah.
Look at that. Now that's what separates her from most promo artists right there. I'm gonna give it up.
Yeah.
That kind of detail puts her on a different level. And if you had to guess, where would you say that heart came from, Les?
I'd say that came from one of our past projects, probably the Horror Hostess.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we don't really advertise that prop that much on that kit, but yeah, it's a really cool looking heart.
Yeah.
That comes with the Horror Hostess character, I believe.
So let's go back in here. So that was from Vicky, and then here's another one. I think that one was that one from Vicky too.
Yeah. Yes, and you know what's coming. It's actually flipped from the way it is in the movie, but you know what's coming next. You and I know. We'll leave it up to folks to.
So decide. Yeah, it's funny because all the promo art that we had to kind of show here was focused on Demon Israfel because that's a new product that's out over at Rendo. But and that kind of dovetails into talking about the movie project and how this stuff all relates to each other.
Hey, before we move on, do you have that high res render that you did of the Dusty outfit? In the Old West? That looks really good. That'd be nice to share.
Yeah. Let's pull that up and show that. There's some really cool renders of the Dusty outfit that they might be a little on the developmental side, but
this character's been around for so long. We actually have a bunch of renders, but like she's changed dramatically. Ooh, there's some good ones right there.
Yeah, some of this stuff is going to use the older, like the original version of the kit was very historically based. It had historically based like shoulder throw and shawl, and then the pants were the ballooned dungarees that the cowgirls actually would have wore.
And see, Hollywood caught up with us on this one because Hollywood doesn't show that, and folks don't respond to it the same way they do stuff that's what they expect, right?
Yeah. So let's see.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
I really like the hand placement there.
Yeah, and the pants that you see in this, those still may find the light of day somewhere. I've just revised, really made a completely different set that's going in the final kit as it comes out. Same with those throws. You know, the shawl and throws, those may find their way out somewhere. This was the shot that I really liked.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Really like that one. That one shows this off quite well. This was another good one right here, and that one.
Now, is that the actual? That's the pistol that goes with it, right? Like
Yeah.
that we're seeing right here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's the pistol that's included with the set. I need to get some good close-up shots of the pistol because the details on those pistols are just insane. I wonder, I might even just pop over here and come into this scene because, yeah, here at the end of the scene, we could always zoom in and I can kind of show that on screen for a moment. I really dig seeing that face on this, by the way. That's just...
Man, it's got kind of a Day of the Dead sort of vibe to it somehow.
Yeah, there's something really super cool about
this. Demon bank robbers of the Old West. Man, that's a new comic. We got to do that.
Well, there's a whole concept that, yeah, I'm not going to get too deep into that. But there's a whole project idea that I want to pull out that really had a lot to do with my original vision for Dusty as a character. So, but what's funny though is that'll be something that I actually draw by hand instead of doing 3D because, as soon as this loads up, actually I'll let that kind of lead the way into the next big thing that I want to talk about. So hopefully this is gonna load up quick. Can't wait to get some new hardware so I'll have a better video card and be able to run this stuff faster.
Yeah, that's on my to-do list for the next sometime in probably 2020. Yeah. I'll have it.
I'm very confident that before too long I'm going to be running probably an RTX 2080 Ti 11 gig. We've got to be running one of those soon. It's
before
time.
Long. I hope you're running down here to help me move my office. That's
oh Lord, yeah. Maybe making a trip to North Carolina, help you out with that 1 week. We need to talk about that at some time too. Put a pin in that for off.
Oh, dude, this looks amazing. It makes me want to. Dude, I am so inspired right now. Like, I love that Western vista right there over your shoulder.
Yeah, I was real happy with that. It's a great HDR, which I believe I have it noted in my presets where it came from because I tend to organize things that way.
If it's HDR Haven, I want to grab it.
I'm pretty sure that came from HDR Haven.
Now, don't you have to do some setup to it though to get it to look like that? Because lots of times I don't have this kind of result.
Yeah, I mean, there's some tweaks and things you have to pull, not the actual file, but just how it loads into DAS Studio.
That might be a nice S1M Teachable right there.
Yeah,
you guys see what I do? I think up shit for less to do. That's what I.
That's what happens a lot of times. He and I get on together.
Apart from being, I'm calling myself the marketing manager at RMP for sure, and in addition to that, I'm like thinker up of shit to do.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Brent actually manages my store on Renderosity, so. Yeah, if you send me any on-site messages at Renderosity, you're probably going to get answered by Brent. I've been doing this stuff for so long, and the last couple of years, I've actually managed all of it by myself, and just the volume of content that I both have and create, it's just more than one person can do. It's like I'm really, very prolific with the stuff that I put out. And it's just more than one person can handle, or at least more than I can handle. I mean, maybe somebody out there is a freaking Superman who can handle it, but I can't. And so Brent, has kind of morphed into my go-to guy for that. And Brent is my content manager for my Renderosity marketplace, soon to be my ArtStation store. And maybe a couple other things as well. So we're looking at that. So it's been kind of cool having Brent, come into the whole Sixus1 family in a closer sort of way that way. So, anyway, so now that's cooked onto the screen, you can see the pistols. I love these pistols. The pistols were actually the first part of this entire kit that I made. They're my favorite part of it. The entire kit happened just to have an excuse, in a way, just to have an excuse to use these damn pistols. So,
Yeah, man, that looks amazing how the sun's coming off the hammer right there in the front
yeah.
of the chamber. That's incredible.
Yeah, there's so much filigree work on those things, and I got goofy, and all the work on them is documented too. It's all documented in
Yeah, you can see how it's done.
in the videos related to this, which I don't think we've released those anywhere yet, have we?
I knew that was coming.
Oh
No,
yeah.
sir, I've been in school.
Oh
But yes,
yeah, yeah.
this will probably be this might be a January release, but it may not. It may come quicker than that for
Yeah,
sure.
I'd like to see it come quicker than that because
Well,
I'm.
well, it's kind of we need to figure out where Dusty's going to land. That's the first thing. So
Well, I know where the outfit's going to land. I am 99% sure of where the outfit's going to land. I just don't want to say it out loud yet.
I hear you. I hear you. You don't want to jinx.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say it out loud until I have the paperwork in hand.
Of course, that's
So that's how that needs to go. The
yeah.
the
I want to see an
character may go
animated film.
somewhere else.
This amalgamation Dusty character with Israfel. I want to see that. I want to see that in like an animated film. That looks so good to me.
I really dig that. It might be worthwhile to like write because of the nature of your respawner character. It might be kind of cool to like write a little Western respawner.
Well, it actually does
clip.
start in a time. The story starts in a time historically before that. So yeah, you could have a Western piece of it without
you can do some neat
really
stuff with that.
even changing it. That's a great idea, man.
So yeah, and we'll have to talk sometime about my my Dusty concept or the concept that gave rise to Dusty for me. Really, and where it's gone. There's a whole pitch that I have for that I just shared with my sister yesterday, and have talked with. There's a good friend of mine, super cool comic book artist and writer named Ben Jones. Ben Charles Jones, I think, is his full name, so it doesn't get mixed up with the classic animator Ben Jones. But Ben has, and you might want to look this up too. Pop a link off for this; he'd love it. He has a comic that he funded through Kickstarter, really successful, called Asgard. Not related to Marvel's Norse stuff. It's his vision of like all these gods and things, and it's just great. Like if you dig super dynamic, slick art, that has that kind of mid 90s Image Comics feel to it. Man, he Charles Ben Jones, that's his name. Charles Ben Jones, he just nails that style with his own take on it. Great stuff. Anyway, yeah, Charles and I talked about this quite a bit too. So at some point, hopefully, I'll kind of pull the veil back on it a little bit more because it's a project I really want to get off the ground. But since it's a comic book related project and it got me on the subject of comics, which has kind of like been my thing forever. I mean, my whole career started when I was 19, drawing comics, drawing indie vampire comics, and other horror comics for a couple of different small publishers. That brings me around to a major thing for me, which let's pop back over to the cover here. So folks who've known me for a while, and I know I say that a lot, but it's like I pretty much live my work. So if you know me, you know my work. Folks will know that I've worked on for a few years now a comic called Apocalypse Girl, and Apocalypse Girl has been just a baby of mine. I have petted and fed and cultivated this project for years. If you're on Facebook and you go to Apocalypse Girl on Facebook, there's a Facebook page for Apocalypse Girl. It kind of tracks its development over time. Well, Apocalypse Girl got a publisher about 2 years ago called Insane Comics. An awesome guy named Jim Munch. I'm probably saying his name wrong because I do that all the time. But Jim and company, they were great. They're super supportive. They put out the first 3 issues, and but unfortunately, due to all kinds of circumstances beyond anyone's control, they decided to close the company down. Well, with the closing of Insane Comics, with Insane Comics, I got to go to some conventions and things, and and ran into some old friends and various associates and things, folks I'd known in and around the comic book industry for quite a while, because I've been involved in comics in a variety of roles for 25 years. So with Apocalypse Girl initially coming out from Insane Comics, I was going to a variety of conventions, reconnecting with some old friends and all that. And it happened that this one gentleman, who I'm going to give him a shout out on here right now, because he is the comic book world's man in black, Mr. Dirk Manning. Dirk, I hope you catch this. You probably haven't listened to this podcast at all, or if you have, you probably bailed before you got to this part, but I don't care. So hopefully you hear this and you're like, hey, thanks, Les, or whatever. Dirk is super cool. He writes a ton of books, and I highly recommend any of his stuff. He and I hit it off a long time ago, just in our interests in all things Lovecraft. And Dirk had introduced me to the folks at SourcePoint Press, because they publish a lot of his stuff. And it was at the comic book, the Chicago Comic Con last year, or was it early this year? Yeah, it was early this year. Chicago Comic Con, C2E2. SourcePoint was there. Insane Comics was there. They hadn't closed up shop yet, and I was there supporting what at the time was issue number 2 of Apocalypse Girl that had came out. And there's some great conversations were had, and some connections made, and some great introductions made, that Dirk pointed me to the folks at SourcePoint, and really just super cool people. Love the books they put out. Knew I loved the books they put out, because they put out Dirk stuff, and if they put out Dirk, I definitely like them. So he made some introductions there, and it just happened that not long after that, Insane closed up. And pretty much as soon as they closed up, I was like, can I get a release letter? And Jen was really cool about it, gave me my release letter. And I immediately, same day, turned around and spoke with Travis, the publisher at SourcePoint, who had said, he was like, I'd be interested in publishing some of your stuff, Apocalypse Girl, or some other projects that I pitched to him. And so the same day that they closed up, I got the release letter from them, turned around, and while it wasn't signed, the contract wasn't signed, the deal was made that day for Apocalypse Girl to migrate from Insane Comics over to SourcePoint Press. We'd get a new release schedule and everything. I mean, it shifted the book's life off by a full year, but it was absolutely worth it. So now, all that long story, which we may edit that for whatever reason, but that story leads to where we are now. So here, you see, Apocalypse Girl featured on the cover of Sixus1 Magazine here, and that is because I can now announce that, and this is something that's very comic book industry specific in a way. For those who know, comic shops all order their books through Diamond Distribution. I'll just not even open the wormhole that I can get into about Diamond with that, but all comic shops pretty much buy through Diamond, and SourcePoint has a great relationship with Diamond, and Apocalypse Girl #1 will be going into the solicitations with Diamond in November for a January release. Yay! So without further ado, I want to kind of introduce you guys. This is the cover, the official cover for Apocalypse Girl #1, as it comes out from SourcePoint Press. Folks who may have followed Apocalypse Girl in the past will sort of recognize this painting. This is actually a revised version of an older painting that was really the very first piece of Apocalypse Girl art I ever did. And in the original, her hair was kind of fluffier, and there were a few small details that were different. And as I worked on the book over the years, there's lots of things about her. Characters tend to kind of hone themselves over time when you're working on a comic. And with the new publication, the new publisher, the new schedule, and all that, I really wanted to go back and retouch this piece of art, kind of, update it, and really bring it more in line with the way the character appears in the book. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit there. We can scroll around on that for a second. So this is, the official title of the book is Les Garner's Apocalypse Girl. There's maybe someday I'll go into the reasons why it has my name in the title like that, but that's the official title. So anyway, let's maybe poke through a few pages here. Some of these pages, folks, because the book has been out, the first 3 issues have been out before in one form with Insane, but I figure a lot of folks, it was very limited run, it was very small publication, so most folks probably haven't even seen this yet. So this is just a quick look through a few pages of Apocalypse Girl number 1. And even though I've done these quite a while back, I still really love these pages and the whole story. I mean, just the feel of it. This book has been my baby for ages, it seems. And so for it to finally be, making its way out through a broader market, this will be available at comic shops everywhere. So, God, I'm super excited about it. And I'm glad to be able to share some of that stuff on here with you folks. So here's, a little look into Apocalypse Girl number 1. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite panels I've ever done, is this panel right here with just that expression. That I love that so much. It's like I'm not really doing this stream to try and pat myself on the back. It's more just to let you guys know about stuff that I'm doing. But this is the moment where I'm going to be like, all right, cool. I'm proud of that. So that was pretty cool. So, so Apocalypse Girl number 1, you'll be able to see that. If you have an LCS, a local comic shop that you go to, make sure you tell them, hey, get Apocalypse Girl number 1 from Source Point Press, because I think you'll really dig it. So it's my baby, and there you get a quick look at that. So let's pop back over here. Where were we? Yeah, there we go. So I think that's pretty much. I think we've pretty much touched on everything. That was the idea for doing the podcast, the whole streaming thing, was to make it kind of a deep dive into the content that's in the newsletter. When the newsletter comes out, it's going to have, the way this is going to work is you'll sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter will come out. It'll have links and things to different stuff, products, tutorials, whatever kind of stuff that we have going on. It'll have links to all of that. As well as like kind of mini summarized little snippets of article from the different subjects that you see on the cover, and then there'll be the live stream and subsequent edited podcasts that come from basically us just hopping on and doing a deep dive into all of that different content. What's up with all that kind of stuff. So that's that kind of takes care of everything, doesn't it?
Well, if you look down at the very bottom right-hand corner.
Oh, Disciple 3D Cinematic Universe in Waiting. Oh. So what are we up to with that?
Well, what is it, first off?
Yes.
Because I'm going to say one thing and you're going to say a different one. So I'm trying to roll with the company line on this.
Well.
So we collaborated on a live-action film with digital CGI elements.
Oh, I knew that looked familiar. That's what that's from. Okay.
Bunch of work was done.
Yes.
A bunch of work was done by both of us on it, and some people did some bad thing, and it kind of like fractured the work that had been done, at least on your end.
Yeah. There were some things that happened in relation to this short film project that we worked on together that derailed the project indefinitely, and so plans are afoot to resurrect said project, and finally complete the damn thing in some form. So
basically, some sort of creature, monster of your creation, chases a agent who has infiltrated some sort of occult organization to retrieve a talisman or icon of extreme power, and he basically has to escape this creature.
yeah, there was a real
Lack of a better
Lovecraftian thing
term.
there. If I wish I had thought about it, I could have pulled up some of the clips. There's some clips where I had done some of
Well,
the CG effects.
you still could do that.
I wonder if I have those handy, or if I've reorganized my stuff since then. I don't want to show too much of what's on my machine because I don't want somebody to, I don't know. I'm paranoid about that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd have to dig for a minute to really, really go pulling that out. Maybe, let's see. Let's do it this way. Where can I go to? Okay, there you are, and then... Oh, isn't this magical?
Just magical.
Yeah.
We should have a theme. We should have a theme for any time you say that expression.
I tell you what. Let me go digging for that another time, and we'll do like a little special stream, just looking into that and kind of start talking about that. Maybe we'll do some special little snippets about it and compile those in a little playlist on the YouTube page and all that. So it's a little bit of a deep dig for me to go plowing through right now, but I think I could pull something together with that. So,
okay,
but suffice that to say, we're going to put a pin in that subject, and we'll come back to that later on another stream because it's super cool, and there are some really awesome clips that we could show in advance of it. There's one in particular where I did this CG work on there's a close-up of the guy's hands as he's holding this box, and it has these occult symbols all around it, and I did the CG work on it that turns those into these light-emitting shapes and all that kind of cool stuff. So yeah, there's some really neat stuff there for us to show, and oh man, so much to do. I love it. So, yeah, we'll be digging into that. There'll be more on that in the newsletter. Maybe we'll be showing some of the storyboards and things to it. Who knows? Because now looking at the cover, I recognize. Oh yeah, that's one of the storyboards that I drew for that thing. So,
yep.
Oh man, whew. Yeah, we get into a lot of stuff, don't we? So, I think that's going to bring us to a close, right?
There's some questions in the chat for you.
Questions in the chat. Okay, cool. You want to read a couple of those off to me, or
is the magazine going to be ongoing? Would be one.
Okay, let's answer that one. Simple answer is yes. I don't think there's a more complicated answer than that. Yes, the plan is for the magazine to be ongoing. And for that to be really the magazine to be kind of there's be the newsletter. The newsletter will contain basically the magazine itself. That's what it will be. If there's eventually a push for something more in depth, maybe we'll grow it into a PDF or something down the line. Who knows? I mean, there's lots of different directions that we could take this. So if you folks dig it, and there's call for more, then maybe we could do more with it. We'll see. These are a lot of what we're doing here. These are baby ideas, and they're taking their first steps. And if you guys get behind them, then maybe they can grow and turn into something. So
one thing I will say is this podcast will be available on iTunes. To get it on iTunes, you have to have 5 episodes.
Yes.
So this particular episode might be stretched across 5. We'll see how long it comes out to edited.
Okay.
But ultimately, it's 83 minutes right now, so that's pretty long for a podcast. So it may be 3 or 4 of those with this one, but we'll see. But as soon as it's 5 strong, I'll start hosting it, and we'll be able to put it on iTunes.
Awesome, very cool. So
Gotta
then,
get it on your phone.
so then there will be Sixus1 content on iTunes. So that's great. I love it. So, got another question. Anything else you see on there?
Where did we sign up for the newsletter?
Okay, Brent, you're managing that. You want to field that question?
It will be a newsletter page administered by MailChimp, and it'll be posted on the official website, which right now is still a website, and potentially on ArtStation, but as of now, I hadn't seen how to do that. And also on the Sixus1 Media fan page.
Cool.
And the idea for sure is that there will be a PDF that will have maybe some unique content from the video. The idea is we want you to, read the PDF so you can click on things to take you actual places to get some of the stuff we're talking about, or to watch a movie or what have you, without having to go through the links. And more on the Patreon probably will be in there. Here's where you go for the Patreon, things like that.
Cool. Yeah, something else I want to toss out there too is like in future installments of the stream, maybe part of the magazine, maybe part of the live stream related to the magazine, all that kind of stuff. We plan to. I'm planning to get folks on probably via Skype. Although if anyone ever wants to come and like sit in studio with me here and do it, we could set that up, and be able to bring on folks to interview and talk about projects and things. It'll probably mostly be folks that I know from the comic book industry. I got a handful of folks I want to contact probably this evening, and let them know that I'm finally pulling trigger on this, because I know they're going to want to be in, and that's super cool. But one of the things that I really want to make sure of is like as we do these streams and all that stuff, it's not just going to be like already you see, this is Sixus1 Magazine, but it's Sixus1. It's mostly, it's predominantly my content and things that I'm involved in, but there is the D3D side of it that's Brent's with Disciple 3D, and then as we move forward, I'm going to be spotlighting other things. Like you're very likely to see us do the occasional movie review, game review, comic review, things like that may show up in the magazine, may show up just in the YouTube channel, as part of podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out, because I tend to work with a lot of different people, and I'm kind of behind the scenes in all kinds of different things that allow me to get kind of some insights into a lot of cool stuff, and maybe some things that folks haven't necessarily heard of but would really dig. So I'd like to kind of use this as a bit of a platform to sort of spotlight that kind of thing from time to time, and just kind of share cool stuff, because that's it's like if folks recall, I used to end all of the the seminars I did for CGBytes, with I'd say, now go make cool stuff. That was the whole point. It's like the whole point of what we're doing is cool stuff. We want you to make cool stuff. We want you to see cool stuff. That's what I do, is I make cool stuff. So it's always been kind of a thing. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye out for. Hopefully we can introduce you guys to a lot of cool stuff. I fully expect the core of our audience starting out to come from the 3D content world, because that's something I've been so deeply involved in for so long. But I'm hoping that a lot of you folks will kind of take an interest in things like like my comics, other comics and things I'll be able to point you to, or we'll just find something interesting in the other stuff that we have to offer, because I think there's a space for that, and I think there's a really cool way that we can present those things that might be entertaining. So I see a question from Reggie Hicks. How often do you think you'll be streaming? My plan is currently to do one long form stream that would be hooked to the magazine a month. So there would be the magazine stream going once a month, but then every Friday to pop on for at least a half an hour to an hour stream, just to talk about either something I'm working on or something I've seen, any of that sort of thing. And that would be just a weekly podcast slash live stream, kind of catching up with everybody. So that's what that's all about. And of course, if folks want to pop on and ask me questions during that time, you're more than welcome to. So Brent, anything else you can see that we want to tidy up before we bring this to a head?
Stay on the lookout for the male version of the Demon Kit, and
yes, male version of Demon Israfel is coming soon.
Possibly some sort of demonic outfit for Halloween. I don't know. We got a lot to get done in this short period of time.
Yep. Cool. All right, folks. Well, so I'm gonna bring this in and close it down. This is gonna wrap up the official first live stream / podcast for Sixus1 Magazine. I am Les L. Garner. You'll find all kinds of art and things that I do under that name and under the Sixus1 name. With me, partnered on this podcast and managing my stores at Renderosity and other places is my good friend Brent Bowers, aka D3D and Gray Bro and all that kind of cool stuff. So anyway, that's gonna wrap up this first stream, and hope you guys dig it. Hope you come back next time. All right, we'll see you later.